Welcome back. When I'm recording this, we have been doing this for about 10 days, and I'm really starting to see improvement in your work ethic and in your ability to finish the problem set during class time. So I think things are working really, really well. If you are struggling, please come talk to me. All right, so we finally, when you listen to this, we'll finally be moving into Chapter 2, where we're going to talk about linear equations. Again, you've seen a lot of this. The problems just might be a little bit more difficult, but nothing that you can't handle. So let's get started right away. Lesson 2.1, for day 1, we're going to learn to identify a linear equation. And then we're going to learn about the addition property of equality, and we're going to use it to solve for a variable. So I'm going to set my pen here real quick. I'm trying to do this as before I start, but sometimes I forget. So here we go. All right, and I want my arrows to just stay visible for me. Okay, here we go. When we have a linear equation, we don't, in one variable, just did that again. Not sure why that did that again. Okay, a linear equation in one variable has only one variable. Okay, makes sense, right? X is our variable. A, B, and C are numbers. A and B are coefficients. They're called coefficients. And C is the constant. But we only have one variable, and that's X in this equation. Now, what the addition property of equality says is that we can take and add the same number to both sides of the equal sign, and we don't change the value of the equality. The equality stays the same. All right? The equation looks different. The equation looks different, but it still has the same value. And that's really powerful, because then we can use this property to solve for a variable, to get a variable all by itself on one side. All right? So let's see what this looks like. All right? All right. Here are 4 steps to solve any linear equation. You may not use every single step. You'll probably always use 3 or 4. You'll use 3 or 4, but you'll need 1 and 2 the more complicated it gets. All right? So I'm going to put all of them in. We're going to ask ourselves if we need them, but a lot of what we do tonight or tomorrow will be 3 and 4. All right? So here we go. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to look for like terms to combine. Like terms. And you combine them. Like terms, when you combine them, they must be on the same side of the equal sign. So this would look something like 2x plus 3 plus x equals 7. 2x and x are on the same side of the equal sign, in this case the left, and we can combine them into one term. 3x plus 3 equals 7. Okay? So we're going to look to see if we have like terms to combine. The second step is we're going to then move all variables to the same side or one side by adding the opposite if we need to. This is going to look something like x plus 3 is equal to 2x. You see how I have an x on the left and I have an x on the right? What we're going to do is we're going to move by adding the opposite. Okay? Notice here we combined, and now we're moving by adding the opposite. So I get 3 is equal to x. Okay? All right, the third step, it's another move type of situation. We're going to move any non-variable on the same side as the letter away from it, so to the other side, again, by adding the opposite. All right? So this is going to look something like, I'm making this up, x plus 3 is equal to 7. All right? In this case, I have a non-variable on the same side as my letter, right? So I want to move this one away by adding the opposite. So I'm going to add a negative 3. You might think of it as subtracting, but subtraction is nothing more than adding the opposite. So we would get x is equal to 4, right? And then finally, the last step is undo the coefficients, okay? The coefficient, remember, is the number that sits right in front of a letter. So if I have, let me pull up my pen, if I have 2x is equal to 4, to undo this 2 that's being multiplied, I have to divide both sides by 2, and I would get x is equal to 2, okay? All right, so let's work through some of these and see if we can apply these 4 steps. Remember, we're going to combine like terms. We're going to move the variables to the same side. We're going to move the non-variables to the same side, but on the other side is any letter. And then we're going to undo any coefficient in front of the variables. So refer back to those. Here we go. Number 1, I have x minus 16 equals 7. All right, so let's look if we can combine anything. On the left-hand side, can I combine those? No. And I don't have anything to combine on the right, correct? All right, so I don't need to do step 1. Do I have more than one variable term, like a variable on the left and a variable on the right? Nope, so I don't have to move any variables. So now I'm going to look for step 3. Do I have any non-variable terms that I need on the same side as my letter that I need to move to the other side? Yes, I do. So we need to pick up here with step 3. All right? And I'm going to add 16 to both sides. Notice that I'm adding the opposite. This is a negative 16. I'm adding the opposite. And I get x is equal to 23. And then we're going to check it. You check by plugging in. Here's my check. And we're going to plug in 23 minus 16. And we want to make sure that that equals 7. And you say, well, of course it does. 23 minus 7 is 7 equals 7. And it checks. Okay. Notice that I'm actually doing the math on this left-hand side and just pulling this right-hand side down. Okay. You want to simplify so you get down to a single number on both sides. All right. Hit pause, try number 2, and come back and let's see if you got it right. All right, welcome back. All right, I have x minus 12 equals negative 3. Okay, so here I go. Combining, I don't need to combine, don't have anything to combine. Do I need to move variables? Don't need to move variables. Do I need to move constants? Yes, I have this 12 here that I need to move away from the x. So I'm going to add 12 to both sides. All right, so now I have x is equal to, now I'm adding negative 3 and 12. I have different signs, so I take their difference, and then I look to see what I have the most of. Do I have more positives or more negatives? I have more positives. And then to check it, I just plug it in. 9 minus 12, and I want that to equal negative 3. Again, I have different signs, positive 9, negative 12. I'm adding them together, so that gives me the difference is 3, and then I have more negatives, so it checks. On number 3, I have x minus 2.9 equals negative 6.4. Don't worry about the decimal, just line up your decimals. Again, do I have anything to combine? No, no. Step 2, do I have variables on both sides of the equal sign that I have to move? No. Step 3, do I have a non-variable sitting with my letter on the same side? Yep, so I got to move that. I want to undo a negative 2.9, so I'm going to add 2.9 to both sides. These cancel. That's what I want. X is equal to, I have different signs, so I'm going to take their difference, and I get 3.5. And then I look to see what I have the most of. Well, look here. I have more negatives, so this becomes a negative. And then I check it. And I want negative 3.5 minus 2.9. And when it's all done, I want it to equal negative 6.4. Well, these two numbers are both negative, so I'm going to get an even more negative number. So I'm going to add them together, and I get negative 6.4 is equal to negative 6.4. Ta-da! Done. Yay! Not so bad, right? You guys hit pause, do number 4, and come back. All right, welcome back. Here we go. Step 1, combine. Got nothing to combine. Step 2, move variables to the same side. I only got one variable. There's nothing to move. Step 3, move my numbers or coefficients away from my variable. Oops, I can do that. How do I undo a positive 16? I'm going to add the opposite, plus a negative 16 to both sides. I have 22 negatives and I have 16 more negatives. I'm going to get even more negative. So this is negative 38 is equal to X. Check it. Negative 22, we want that to equal negative 38 plus 16. This side is already simplified. Just carry it down. This side here, I have different signs, so I take their difference. Different signs, take their difference. That means subtract. And that gives me 22. 38 minus 16 is 22. Now I look to see, what do I have the most of? Do I have more negatives or more positives? Well, I have more negatives, so there we go. We checked just fine and dandy. Okay, here we go. They get harder. Now our equations are going to have fractions, and we're still solving for X. So my recommendation is whenever you have a fraction, multiply every single term by the lowest common denominator. Multiply by the least or lowest common denominator. Every term. That's the kicker. So let's see what this looks like. Would you agree, and I hope you say yes, that the common denominator is 5? These are both 5. So my hint says multiply every term by the least common denominator. My least common denominator is 5, so I'm going to multiply every term times 5. Okay, I'm squeezing them in there, all right? All right, when I do this, the 5 in the numerator cancels with the 5 in the denominator. That's what we spent time finding factors for, so we could cancel. So I'm left with 3x. Okay. 5 times 17 is 85, so plus 85 is equal to, again, these cancel, 8x. All right, now I start at my list. Step 1, do I have any like terms to combine? On the left, no. On the right, no. Now step 2, do I have variables on both sides of the equal sign? I do. I've got to move them. When I move, I add the opposite. All right, so I'm adding a negative 3x to both sides. And I get 85 is equal to 5x. Do I have a non-variable term on the same side with my letter? No, so I can skip step 3. And then step 4 says I need to undo the operation with from the coefficient. So I need to undo this multiplication by 5. So I'm going to divide by 5. And I get x is equal to 17. And if you plug that in and check it, it will work. Make sure you try and check these, okay? If you'd like to hit pause and check it, that would be perfect. All right. Actually, hit pause, check number 1, and go back and also do number 2 because it's very similar to number 1. All right. All right, welcome back. Here we go. I have 2/3 times x plus 1 equals 5/3 times x. All right, 3 and 3 are the only denominators, so that has to be my common. So I have to multiply everything by 3. All right. This 3 in the numerator cancels with this 3 in the denominator, and I'm left with 2x. 3 times 1 is 3. This 3 in the numerator cancels with this 3 in the denominator, so I'm left with 5x. Do I have any terms on the left that I can combine? Nope. Do I have variables on both sides of the equations? Yes. So now I need to move one of them. I'm going to move the 2x. Move. Sorry about that. That sounded weird. All right. And I get 3 is equal to 3x. Step 3 says, do I have any non-variable terms on the same side with my letter? No, so I can skip that step. And step 4 says I need to undo the operation of that coefficient. This is being multiplied, so I need to divide. All right? And I get 1 is equal to x. And if we check it, we get 2/3 plus 1 is the equivalent of 3/3, so 2/3 plus 3/3 is 5/3. 5/3 equals, and then 5/3 times 1 is 5/3, so 5/3 is equal to 5/3. If you'd rather check it in this one, I would be careful of that because if you made a mistake with your denominator or multiplying, you won't reveal that by checking at this level. You want to go back and check into your original. All right. Number 3, I'm moving on to the next problem. We have different denominators. So we have to find the least common denominator, right? So I look to see if my smaller number goes evenly into my bigger number, and it does. So that means my bigger number is my common denominator. Okay, so I'm going to multiply everything, each and everything, by 4. All right. All right. I have a 4 in the numerator and a 4 in the denominator, so those cancel. I have 4 times 1 divided by 2. That gives me plus 2. I have a 4 in the numerator and a 4 in the denominator, so that cancels, so that gives me 8x. And then I have negative 2 times 4, that's negative 8. Okay? All right. Do I have anything on the left that I can combine? Nope. Do I have anything on the right that I can combine? Nope. All right. So step 2, do I have variables on both sides of my equal sign? Yes. So I have to move one of them, minus 8x. I generally just kind of go towards getting a positive coefficient for my variable. So that gives me x plus 2 is equal to a negative 8. Okay. Now, I have to ask myself, is there a non-variable term on the same side with my letter that I need to move? Yes, I need to move that 2, and I'm going to have to squeeze that in because minus 2 and minus 2, so I get x is equal to negative 10. And then you plug it in up here and check. Okay? All right, hit pause, check it, and then come back and see, and while you've hit pause, do number 4 and then see if you got number 4 right. All right, welcome back. When you checked number 3, you should have got negative 88/4 on both sides after you simplified, so you would have checked correctly. Number 4, I have to find a common denominator. Does 2 go evenly into 6? You betcha. Does 3 go evenly into 6? You betcha. So that means 6 has to be my common denominator. So I'm going to multiply each side by 6. Not only each side, but I'm going to multiply each term. All right? Now be careful because these aren't all going to cancel out anymore. I have a 6 in the top and a 2 in the bottom. So this 2 will cancel into the 6 and leave me with 3. So I have 3 times 13t. That gives me 39t. Right? This 6 cancels with this. So that just leaves me minus 9. Then I have this 6 cancels with this. So I just am left with 12t. And over here, this 3 cancels into that 6. That leaves 2. So 9 times 2 is 18. Okay. Step 1 in our list of things to check is, do I have anything to combine on the left? No. Do I have anything to combine on the right? No. Do I have t's on both sides of the equal sign? Yes, so now I need to move them. To move it, I'm going to add the opposite of 12t to both sides. That gives me 27t minus 9 equals 18. Step 3 says, do you have terms on non-variable terms on the same side as your letter? We do, so now I need to move it away from, so I'm going to add 9 to both sides. And I get 27t is equal to 27. Step 4 says divide by my coefficient, or undo. In this case, it's division. And I get t is equal to 1. You good? Woohoo! Yay! And if we check it, find a common denominator, you'll see that it is correct. All right, here we go. Getting just a little bit more, okay? All right. We are going to have examples. This is examples with variables on both sides, all right? Not only variables on both sides, but this is where we have to combine things, okay? So, our first step is same 4 steps, all right? Combine likes. Notice that you have R and R here. So 9R plus 4R. How many R's do you have? 13R. Now I have a positive 6 and a negative 2. So you have $6. You give me $2. How many bucks you got left? 4. All right? 13R plus 4 is equal to, all right, do I have more than one R over here? I do. I have 12R. 9 plus 3 is 12, and then I still have that plus 4. That's step 1, combine likes. Okay. Do I have variables on both sides? I do. So I'm going to subtract 12R, and that gives me R plus 4 is equal to 4. All right. Now I have to move all my constants away. So that means I need to subtract this 4. Look, notice we're using the exact same steps, right? And I get R is equal to 0. R is equal to 0. Now we're going to check it, okay? I'm going to check it right above here. Let me erase those little check marks real quick. So I'm going to erase that real quick. Okay. All right. I'm plugging in a 0. So anytime I multiply by 0, I get 0. So 0 plus 0 plus 6 minus 2 is equal to 0 plus 4 plus 0. What's 6 minus 2? 4. Does 4 equal 4? You betcha. All right, hit pause and you try number 2 on your own and see how you do. Come back and see how you do. All right, welcome back. All right, we have 3k minus 12 plus k plus 2 equals 5 plus 3k plus 2. All right, I got to combine likes. Remember, likes live on the same side of the equal sign. All right, I have 3k plus 2k. How many k's? I have 3 kites. You give me a kite. How many kites do I have? 4 kites. Okay, then I have negative 12 plus 2. All right, negative 12, that's like having 12 red chips. Okay, and I'm adding 2. I'm not adding 2 negatives, all right? So these are different signs, so I have to take their difference. Their difference is 10. Now, what do I have the most of? Do I have more negatives or more positives? I have more negatives. Okay? Now, I don't have any k's to combine. I just have a single 3k, and then I have 5 plus 2. That gives me 7. All right? Here we go. Do I have k's? Step 2 says, do I have k's on both sides of the equal sign? You betcha. So I'm going to move my k's. Actually, I'm going to move my k's to the left. To the left. To the left, to the left. All right. So I get k minus 10 is equal to 7. Now, I need to move this 10 because it's living on the same side as this x. I need to move this 10 over to the other side. So I'm going to add 10, and I get x is equal to 17. I don't have a coefficient to undo because that's just like 1, and division by 1 doesn't change anything. Multiplication by 1 doesn't change anything. So if I wanted to check this, I'm going to erase my little circles here. If I wanted to check this, I would have 17 times 3, that's 51, minus 12, plus 17, plus 2. Okay? So 51 plus 17 is 68, plus 2 is 70, minus 12, that would be 58. Okay? And then I have 5 plus 17 times 3 is 51 plus 2. So I have 51 plus 5 is 56 plus 2 is 58. And 58 equals 58. So it checks. All right. Good to go. All right. Here we go. Examples with parentheses. All right. So before we start combining or moving, we're going to distribute, okay? So notice, and this is a little bit trickier, the 4 is very apparent. I've got to distribute the 4 times everything inside the parenthesis. So I get 4x plus 4, all right? But notice here, this is like multiplication by negative 1. This is what I've called in the past the sign flipper. This negative in front of a parenthesis changes every sign on the inside of that parenthesis. Minus 3x minus 5 is equal to 1. Now let's look for like things on the same side of the equal sign. I have a positive 4x plus a negative 3x. That just leaves me 1x. I have positive 4 minus 5. Different signs take their difference. That leaves me 1. And what do I have the most of? I have more negatives. All right. I got to get x all by itself. So that means I need to move this constant away. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. And I get x is equal to 2. And I don't have to worry about this step because my coefficient is 1. So if I wanted to check this, I would have 2 plus 1 is 3, minus 3 times 2 is 6, plus 5 is 11. 4 times 3 is 12 minus 11 is equal to 1, and 1 equals, whoops, why is that not right? 1 equals 1. There we go. Guess I'm a little too close to the edge. Right? Why don't you hit pause, try number 2, and then come back and see if you got it right. All right, welcome back. Here I go. I'm going to distribute this 3, and I get 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 5x is 15x. This is nothing more than a sign flipper, so I get minus 1 minus 14x is equal to 6. All right, I'm going to combine likes. I have a 6 and a negative 1. So 6 minus 1 is 5. And then I have positive 14x minus, positive 15x minus 14x. That gives me a positive 1x is equal to 6. I have to move my 5 to the other side. And I get x is equal to 1. If I were to check it, if I were to check it, still checking it. All right, I'm going to plug in 2 plus 5 is 7. 3 times 7 is 21. Minus 1 plus 14 is 15. 21 minus 15 is 6, and 6 equals 6, so it checks. But here's your answer. Okay? All right. We're going to spend 2 full days in class, so you won't have another lesson to listen to tonight or tomorrow night. But we're going to spend 2 full days on this lesson. So let's see how we do. I'd like to be able to move faster, so let's be honest after day 1. And perhaps if we get this really well, we'll move on. But my plan is to do 2 full days of this. All right? See you tomorrow. Thanks for working hard. Please keep working hard. Thanks. Bye.